Hello. I'd like to mention a little subject that I've been thinking about for a bit. The programming language wars that you see on different programming sites and stuff, whether C or C++ or Fortran or whatever is best. There's even people like this person here. It's invented a little blub paradox to try to explain it all. But I really think he doesn't get down to the true root of the problem. The root of the situation is the fact that every person perceives and models the world around him differently. And depending on how your brain models and abstracts the world around you, you would generally gravitate to one or so programming languages that best reflect how you model the problem and solution and how to get from point A to point B. And in general, the other languages will often seem either monotonous, complicated, or just generally unreadable, not because they're stupid or strange or whatever, but they just work from a different perception. The way they model the problem is atypical to how you perceive the situation. And so in general, you look at certain languages and just scratch your head and can't even try to figure it out. The blub paradox and stuff is along the lines that whatever you are presented to first and gravitate towards, but there's plenty of people that's been introduced to C or Python or whatever when they're in college and basically hit a brick wall with it, then have a chance encounter with some other obscure language, and then everything just clicks and you take that language and run with it. Reason why is that language and the person who wrote that language perceives and has a mind that generally thinks about the same way you do. So the language they designed is also one you can easily understand. And like me, for example, I am a person that generally gravitates towards assembly language. I pretty much strictly do assembly language because to me it's a firm, strict construct that I can work in with a strict set of tools, and I know I can model in my mind those building blocks in a pattern to get from where I am to where I want to be. It doesn't take any, a strain on my part to try to figure out the path using basic assembly language structure and the way the assembly language works in the computer. To me, it's inherent and built into the system. While other people look at it as a monotonous and slow and drawn out language, almost self-torture to a degree, but to me, it's far easier to understand and work with than C or any of the other higher language programs, because to me, most of the other higher language programs is just some squishy abstract floating off in yonder land that you take a bunch of graffiti scribbles, otherwise known as a program, shove into it, and out chucks a hairball, which you might prod at a little bit and try to figure out what's in that hairball, but in the end, you take and stick it into the processor and hope that it will do exactly what you want to do. And then you go through revision and revision. And after you finally get something that halfway works, then you stick that hairball into a optimizer of some type and try to peel away the softer layers of the hairball till you get a solider, more how do I say this, workable chunk of code that does exactly what you want, and then you stick it in the final product and ship it out and not worry about it after that. Well, me, that just seems just something that I can't really ever wrap my brain around. I'm not going to try to say all the other languages are stupid and such. It's just they don't look at the problem the way I do. And because of that fact, I cannot really ever work with the other languages without literally wanting to pull my hair out at times, because to me they just intrinsically don't make sense. Not because of stupid or whatever, but as I said, just because we perceive the problem and the solution differently. To me, a basic bare metal assembly language is what I can construct and work with, and any abstraction that I generate is strictly of my own choosing as I see necessary. Otherwise, I stick to a minimum amount of abstraction as possible, which the language provides that flexibility for me and ability to work with everything that is available in the system, whether it is intended to be used that way or not. And on the general blabbing of assembly language, as some people have seen, the TIOBE index, where assembly language is back in the top 10, and people wondering how, whether it's the Internet of Things embedded this or whatever that. One thing they might be missing on that subject is India and Pakistan, because if you look at Google Trends, where the prominence of searching of different subjects is, assembly programming or assembly language and whatever, is always hits very hot spots in India and Pakistan. Pakistan rates 100 on a search index, India 60 compared to United States 11 ranking. And India has been having a flood of programming or low-level programming courses being introduced by different either private educational institutions or state-run educational institutions, and I've seen a lot of that over the last several years. If you look up for subjects like 8085 trainer or 8051 trainer, you get a heck of a lot of hits coming from companies in India producing and selling basic machine code or assembly code processor trainers and stuff, either 8051, 8048s, or 6800 series, or 8050 and 8085s. And the one thing that gets me about the 8085 trainers is most of them are relatively new designs with LCDs and stuff, which make me wonder where they're getting all the 8085 processors. It's hard to believe that there's enough old stock running around places to supply all the production of all those different types of equipment. Most of them seem to have an NEC processor on them, so it makes me wonder if there's an NEC branch somewhere in India that's still manufacturing the dang 8085 processors. Technically, they stopped production in 1990, but there's a heck of a lot of 8085s popping up in India. And a lot of 8051 trainers and stuff. And most of those are geared towards machine or assembly language programming. A lot of them you can hook keyboards to, like these coming from Alibaba, however you want to pronounce the website stuff. So that's one possible explanation for the rise of assembly language in the TIOBE index, is the flood of new people into the IT industry in India and stuff. Some of these trainers are quite complicated with the graphical displays and everything. Even the 8085 trainers and stuff, you have a whole variety of them on the Indian market. So that's one thing I've been noticing a constant rise of over the last several years, to the point it's hard to avoid them now. General search for an 8085 or 8051 trainer is going to turn up a whole boatload of hits from Indian related companies. Poly Labs India, Engine Lab Mag, and all the others, India Mart and stuff, all of them coming up with different varieties of processor trainer kits and stuff. So, as I said, that in my own opinion is why assembly language is popping up on the index in the last several years. So, that's that. Take care. Take it easy.